Okay, so I would like to introduce our first speakers for the day. We have Snigdha S. Chinjeri, Shruti S. Prajwal Nayak, and Dr. Mamta H.R. from BES University, Bangalore. They are going to be presenting their paper entitled Sarcasm Detection in English Text using Tweets and Headlines. Please be informed that this session is being recorded and you have strictly 20 minutes to end your presentation. You will be informed when you have 5 minutes remaining and then 3 minutes remaining. You can begin now.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we will be beginning. Okay, very good morning to everyone present here. Thank you all for joining. I'm Snigdha. I'm a computer science and engineering student from PES University in Bangalore, India. And I'm accompanied by my teammates today, Shruti and Prajwal, along with our mentor, Dr. Mamta. Our study is based on sarcasm detection in English text using tweets and newspaper headlines. Next slide. So a quick Google search on the term sarcasm would tell us that it's the usage of cynicism in mocking or conveying contempt. Since someone who's being sarcastic is usually also subtle and ambiguous, it's really hard for people to identify it, let alone machines. A great example of this would be the character of Sheldon Cooper from the TV show The Big Bang Theory, who is a world-renowned theoretical physicist who yet found it quite hard to understand sarcasm. Now, the question arises, why should we even identify this, right? How are we benefiting from it? To answer that, online sarcasm can be seen all over the internet in various forms. Not understanding the underlying sarcasm in a sentence could often lead to major misunderstandings and misconceptions about a topic, which could lead to difficult social situations, be it online or offline. Additionally, people with brain injuries or those suffering from autism also find it hard to understand this sentiment. Now, sarcasm detection also finds its use in information categorization and opinion mining, which are usually performed on data taken from social media platforms. For example, if there's an election coming up, one could analyze what people are saying about it online, who's likely to win, and so on. But studies like these could lead to inaccurate discoveries and results solely due to the presence of sarcastic comments or tweets. Similarly, people could also leave sarcastic product reviews online. For example, one might review a book on a website by saying, "This book was nice until page 3." Now, this sentence contains the word nice, but at the same time, it means that the reviewer did not think that it was a good read at all, since he's saying that it was only nice until page 3. This may alter the automated summarization of reviews and ratings of the product, if any. So, these are some of the reasons that paved the way for extensive research on this topic using artificial computation. Next slide. Sarcasm, as I said before, is an important component of human language, just like humor. Some remarks like, "yeah, right," or "thanks a lot," are quite familiar. However, it's the more complex ones that are used to hide the criticism from a listener. These are usually context based and only fit a particular situation, just like the example here that we found on Twitter, mocking alcohol. And humans often tend to rely on a speaker's tone, the context, and the speaker's feelings about a topic to comprehend this sentiment. But what do we do in an online environment where we don't really have the luxury of sensing the speaker's tone or feelings, right? So that brings us to the problem that we have tried to tackle, that is detecting sarcasm given any text in the English language by building a sentiment analysis system that is capable of handling the same by generalizing the structure of a sentence. Next slide. Yeah. Before beginning our project, we went through a few existing research papers on this topic, and here are a few studies and the insights that we get. One of the present studies uses a pattern-based approach to solve this problem. Um, in that, I mean, the authors defined a resemblance degree for every text pattern to check its resemblance or similarity to a sarcastic sentence. But this process also involved labeling thousands of tweets manually by humans, which can prove to be tiring. Another deep learning approach that used a Twitter dataset dropped all the punctuations present in the tweets before they perform classification. However, punctuations are usually the biggest giveaway of sarcasm, especially in tweets. And then some of the other methods either did not use corpus from the English language or reached a low accuracy measure or used a small set of samples or used just a single machine learning model to perform classification. So this summarizes and concludes our preliminary research on the topic, after which we went on to collecting and compiling relevant data sets, performing exploratory analysis, and then the classification itself. Over to Prajwal to continue with the presentation.
So let's start off with the data that we used for this study. Past studies, which Snigdha mentioned, use mostly Twitter datasets collected using hashtag-based supervision. But such datasets are noisy in terms of labels and language. To overcome the limitations of this data, we merged it with another dataset, namely the news headline dataset. Headlines from the website The Onion aim at producing sarcastic versions of current events. We also added real and non-sarcastic news headlines from HuffPost. This data amounted to a massive 100,000 samples. We went ahead with cleaning the dataset, transforming raw data into an easily digestible form for the model. We tokenized the text in the entire dataset. Tokenization of the samples helps in interpreting the meaning of the text by analyzing the sequence words. We then removed the stop words. This aids in including only the words that would have added a weightage to the model. The samples were then stemmed using the Porter stemmer. Then we vectorized the data so that a model could be trained on it. We then padded the data to yield a vector of length 32, which is easier to work with. LSTM needs to have inputs of the same size, and this is where the padding is necessary. Visualization was an important part of the study as it gave us an insight on the magnitude of the text that we were dealing with. Through these graphics, we were able to surprised to see that the art of sarcasm doesn't really need to include complicated modern English words. One can sound sarcastic using normal vocabulary in the right context. As you can see in the bar chart in front of you, nouns were the most used part of this study, part of speech in the entire data set. So that concluded our data pre-processing step. After having a look at the data and gasping at the magnitude, we decided on a two-pronged approach to solve this problem. SVM is a simple algorithm that creates a line or a hyperplane that separates data points into two different classes. In this case, sarcastic and non-sarcastic classes. Logistic regression is a statistical technique for modeling the probability of a sarcastic sentence. The third model used was multinomial naive Bayes classifier with a 0.1 smoothing parameter. This is also a probabilistic model that considers each feature of the input to be independent of other features. The fourth model was the decision tree classifier that makes use of a tree-like structure, and entropy and information gain are used as the parameters to decide a node split. The last model was a random forest classifier with 20 trees, which is an ensemble of decision trees used for training and classification. We will be elaborating on the results from these models later. So that was one half of our approach. Wanting to achieve a higher accuracy, we started researching different deep learning techniques. We came across CNNs, GANs, RBFNs, and the like. Among these, we chose to go ahead with LSTMs or long short-term memory. So why LSTM? In traditional neural networks, all the inputs and outputs are independent of each other. But in cases like when it is required to predict the next word of a sentence, the previous words are required and hence it is needed to remember them. Unlike standard feed-forward neural networks, LSTM has a feedback connection. It processes not only single data points, but also entire sequences of data such as speech or video. For example, LSTM is applicable to tasks such as unsegmented connected handwriting recognition, speech recognition, anomaly detection in network traffic or intrusion detection systems, and the like. In the depiction shown on screen, the embedding layer is being used because any text data needs to be integer encoded before being passed as an input to any neural network. The layers below belong to the bidirectional LSTM. Using bidirectional LSTM will run your inputs in two ways, one from past to the future and one from the future to the past. What differs in this approach from unidirectional models is that in the LSTM that runs backwards, we preserve information from the future. Using the two hidden states combined, we're able to preserve information from both past and the future at any point in time. The next layer is a dense layer with 128 units, followed by the output layer with one output value. The results obtained from this study will now be discussed by Shruti.
Thank you, Pradhan. The consolidated results for the tested model is documented as shown. It is seen that the support vector classifier gives around 76% accuracy, logistic regression gives 77%, naive Bayes gives 76 again, decision tree gives 77 and random forest 76. The bidirectional LSTM, however, grabs the attention showing a well above 90, that is a 93% accuracy in average across the 10 folds. Elucidating a little bit more on the folds, this comes from a technique called K-fold cross-validation we used on our data. This is a resampling procedure used to evaluate machine learning models on the data sample. This is implemented by taking the amount of observations, which is n, and randomly splitting them into k non-overlapping groups of length of approximately n by k. These groups then act as a validation set, and the remainder acts as a training set. This is where we get our k folds, or in our case, the 10 folds from. Now, a question might arise as to why LSTM works better than the regular machine learning models. To answer that, we can say that this is due to the fact that LSTM holds promise for any sequential processing task. The English phrases or sentences are cumulative in nature. We can say that it is built on the context preset by the preceding words. And this works best with LSTM as these memory units remembers values and propagates them based on context. This is where this learning model overcomes the deconceptualized evaluation by other simple learning models. Put in simple terms, the other models fall short in comprehending the context. Moving on to summarizing our project, before we go on to what we've achieved, let's talk about what is new in our approach. And the answer to that is the novelty in our approach lies in our data. The world knows and vouches for the criticalness of using the right data to train any model. Any biases in choosing data to yield better results will lose effect in real world applications. Hence, the data that was collated for the study was a careful mix from all possible avenues sarcasm features its role in. One being the informal sarcastic comments passed by you and me that was being accounted for by the Twitter database, and the second being the formal and mawkish turn print media applies to its news stubs to convey a sense of disappointment or contempt. This was paid heed through the newspaper headline database we considered. This mixed bag of both possibilities, formal and informal sarcasm, was the first of its kind among all the papers we read, and our model yielded better results in terms of accuracy and F1 score than most studies that have been done so far in this domain. This method gave us an accuracy of 93% in average. Although this is a good enough milestone to halt at, we as a team understand that the study of using NLP models in understanding sarcasm has many more unexplored attributes. The linguistic model could be integrated with an image processing service to link the speech with the expressions of the person to understand sarcasm better. Additionally, the textual data could be integrated with the voice model to identify the tones of a speaker. This way, the expressions, look, and the tone of the speaker could be clearly identified. Moreover, this study can be extended to identify the true meaning behind any sarcastic sentence by negating the speech. We intend to incorporate the said methods into our project. Sarcasm, we can say, is a field of linguistics with countless research possibilities, which can certainly yield very fruitful results. We learned so much just in the course of this one project and look forward to learning more and implementing more in the next steps. Our entire project is available and has been uploaded on GitHub, the link to which has been attached on the slides. Moving on to the next slide. Here are a few papers we used as reference for our project, some of which was discussed by Snigdha in the preliminary analysis. Uh, Concluding our presentation, we would like to thank our mentor, Dr. Mamta HR, for her continued support through this journey, and a very, very warm thank you to the STCAI team for giving us this wonderful opportunity. And thank you all for your patient listening. We will thus be concluding our presentation and are open to any questions.
Okay, so the floor is now open to questions from the audience. We already have one question. How did the LSTM do for new data?
Yeah, so by new data, I'm assuming you mean, or did we test it on any other data apart from our data set? So yes, we took in tweets from Twitter in order to make it a real-time input to the model, and we could correctly classify all the tweets as sarcastic or non-sarcastic.
Okay, our second question is, what was the objective function used with each one of the models?
Could you elaborate a little bit more on the objective function, please?
If the participant who asked the question wants to, yeah, so she elaborates, how did you evaluate a prediction?
So we had tags initially for our training data set. Like we said, we collected the data set from two different sources. So that was one evaluation methodology we used. And similarly for the training data set, we went ahead and used the tags as well. Yes, the initial data set was labeled, but when you ask the question about the new data, those weren't labeled. That we did manually because, like I said, it was real time, right? So.
To answer why we chose LSTM out of the many other RNN models, we did try many models on our data. However, as we discussed through the presentation as well, LSTM gave the best results in terms of how it comprehends the context by remembering the context itself, right, through memory units, and that's why we chose LSTM out of any other.
The floor is still open to questions. We have 10 more minutes, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to post them to the Zoom chat. We have a question. Do you always have to build LSTM models from scratch?
You don't have to build it from scratch. Essentially, there are libraries like TensorFlow and Keras which do provide layers, so you can add your layers accordingly.
So we will wait for 3 more minutes. If we have no questions, we will move on to the next event. So 3 more minutes if anyone wants to pose any questions to our presenters. We have a new question that says, why not try unsupervised? Wouldn't that have given a new pattern based on logic?
That's definitely an interesting insight, and we hope on exploring that as well. But for our project, we primarily wanted to classify it as sarcastic and non-sarcastic, and use the sarcastic comment, I mean the classification for other great application, and that's why we used supervised for this particular. But this is something we will definitely try.
We have a question that says, is there a set amount of context needed before a tweet was labeled sarcastic or not?
There's no set amount. It could be the whole sentence, it could be a part of the sentence. It has to learn on its own.
We have a question that says, did you do a 0 to 1 classification, or did you use smooth transition to allow for some overlap between the data for accounting for uncertainty?
It was binary, so there was no not really any overlap between the data. Yes, 0, 1.
Okay, so it looks like that's all the questions that we have. Oh, we have one more. Would you consider the latter, since people may sometimes unintentionally come off as sarcastic? Would that increase the model's range of use?
Yeah, so that is another interesting insight as well. We will consider that for sure. Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna close the floor. I would like to thank our presenters and thank you to the audience as well for attending and participating. Next up, we have two student presentations. The topics are machine learning for food review and recommendation and explainability of deep learning based graph embeddings. It starts at 11:30, but before that we have a guest speaker. We have Professor Vanessa Evers from NTU delivering her speech. So if you would like to attend that, please go to the Hoover platform and join the new meeting. With that, I will conclude this session and thank you for attending.